You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. This show is brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. As an American family agent, Kim believes that there is much more to insurance than the policy itself. It's about providing you with dependable protection and services. Kim believes that trust and credibility can't be demanded. It can only be earned by what you say and what you do. Give her a call, 651-482-1598, and tell her Gene sent you. It's time now to hear from the Minnesota Multifamily Association. The MHA Minute is brought to you by Start to Finish Maintenance Contractors. Start to Finish provides 24-hour service for all your home and business maintenance needs. Call Start to Finish today at 952-259-1219 for your home, for your business, for your peace of mind.
When you rent out your home, you automatically become a small business owner and are subject to all kinds of rules and regulations. Fair housing laws, rental licensing, CRPs, lead paint, radon, carbon dioxide, just to name a few. As someone who provides rental housing, you'll have to learn more about your community, your city council, and your law enforcement agencies than you ever imagined. But if you properly manage your business, you'll also become an important and positive partner in the community. The Minnesota Multi-Housing Association is the most comprehensive resource you'll find for everything you need to help you successfully manage your rental business. Visit mmha.com. That's two M's, mmha.com. Look around the website, download the free guide to successful property management, download the free brochure about the eviction process, and learn about the many ways you can turn your small business into a good business.
Well, if you're just joining us, we're going to be wrapping up the show today in this last segment. We're talking about an issue at a townhome association called the Corey Gardens Townhomes in Summerville, South Carolina. And an issue has escalated to hate crime status, where an individual who ended up being a renter asked a question of the board. And apparently people on the board or somebody didn't like the idea that the renter was asking or making suggestions of what to do. That wasn't in their place. And because of that, there was all of this hate notices that were going out. Swastikas and ugly racial slurs were painted on the home of this individual. Their locks were super glued shut more than once. They've had locksmiths out to change the locks just to be able to get in and out of the home, and they're just renting. And this all happened. And we're talking about how an association needs to be careful of fair housing and discrimination. This is a blatant case of just some ugly discrimination, and I think nobody would disagree. What I see, and what is more often than not the case here, is that you have a situation where you have an association who, because they're not consistent in how they deliver services, they're not thinking consistently of how they answer and deal with protocol and procedure and how things are dealt with. There are people who will make a claim that they're being discriminated upon, and that is bad enough when that takes place. And we try to talk to our clients all the time about how to put in those solid protocol and procedures so that they're dealing with everybody with the same level of consistency. But here you have a situation that really has gotten ugly and gotten out of hand, because they were the renter here was asking, could I take care of the pool? Well, there's a couple issues here. Number one, in our first segment with attorney Michael Clem, he pointed out a good point with our first question from a listener, and that is when someone in the association begins to do work, you have some issues. Number one, most likely they're probably not licensed, and if you are paying them, and even if you're not and they're a volunteer, if something happens and they get hurt in the operations of performing this duty that they've volunteered, there is a liability that the association has. And that liability could have a cost associated with it that is a lot more than the association is willing to bear, but will have to, because they took on that responsibility of allowing someone to do work that wasn't licensed, if that's necessary, or not insured. Secondly, we talked about the issue of people viewing renters as a second-class citizen, and you really can't. There is not really, I think, any issue with renters being any more awful as individuals than owners. I think the issue really here comes down to the landlord, the person who owns and is renting out that particular home to someone. I think it is the laziness or ignorance on the part of a landlord, either in not knowing or not willing to shoulder their responsibility as a landlord. And that means that you need to provide your renters with a copy of the rules and regulations so they know what's expected. Come on. I mean, what a way to start things off. Here you want someone to enjoy this place that you're going to rent to them. Why? Because you want the money to cover the mortgage, maybe to even make money on the unit as well. Don't you want them to have a good experience? Don't you want them to live with a good understanding with others in the property so there's no issue, so that you don't receive fines from people on the board? But a lot of landlords are really just lazy or ignorant and not providing the renter with what they need to be able to be successful while living there. Secondly, I also put a blame partially on realtors. Not all. There's some great realtors in there who tell people what to expect when you become a landlord, someone who has an investment property. But there are others that say, hey, you know what? This is a great selling point. You've got, in an association, you don't have the same responsibilities you do as a landlord of your own freestanding building because you've got people that are taking care of things for you. That's just laziness. You got to remember that if you're going to be involved in an investment, whether you live in the association or whether you have it as an investment and rent it out, you need to remember that if there is anything of value, it's going to take your time and your attention, and you can't get away from that. I wish more people would realize that, I love living in a condo. I love owning a condo and renting it out because I have no responsibility. That's absolutely and patently wrong. You do have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to the other owners. You entered into an agreement with the other owners that you would all live by the same governing documents and live in such a way as not to be an irritant to others. And that means you need to be a good landlord. And you need to be able to make sure that you help the renters in being successful. Secondly, you need to do your part in making sure you have good renters. Not everybody that just wants to rent is a good renter. So you need to do a background check. And have you done that? Have you done a background check to see what the history is of this person that's going to be the proposed renter? I know I would. You're talking about an investment that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you aren't going to be concerned about the condition this person might have for your unit. So you need to be careful. The last thing I'd like to talk about here is I'm very impressed with this couple, the Careys. The Careys are very, throughout all of this, very welcoming and smiling. They're not jumping to conclusions. They have remained very calm. And these seem to be some very exemplary people who are just wanting to live and be respectful in the homeowner association. I think that's probably another show coming up here. We need to see if we can try and get the Careys on to share their side of the story of what's going on here. This ugliness with the racial slurs and the vandalism to the home that they're renting out is really uncalled for. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Folks, thanks so much for joining me. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you here again next Saturday, right here on where you live.
Well, goodbye. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
I have been chosen. Farewell, my friend. I go on to a better place.